Go back and do the cleaning, you parasite. Hearing the word parasite, I looked down. Being a stepmother, I never expected to be cherished. But I never imagined being thought of in such a way. It was shocking and also unexpected. Tom. You must think your life is secure as long as your father's company exists. That's why you're still not settling into a steady job, just drifting around. I understand this. But you don't understand anything. Maybe it's time I opened your eyes. I lifted my face. And then, I showed a smile. Let's embark on a journey to discover the truth. My name is Kelly West. I'm a 53-year-old housewife. In my younger days, I went to a vocational high school and even got a bookkeeping certification. I used that to land a job where I met my current husband, Mike. Mike was the owner of a small business in a working-class neighborhood. We hit it off when I joined his company as an accountant, leading to our relationship. That was 5 years ago. We got married 3 years ago, but I had been meeting Mike's family frequently even before that. Mike was divorced, with one son. Every time I saw his son, I felt uneasy. His only son, Tom, was 15 at the time. Even accounting for his difficult age, he was clearly rejecting me. This continued even after Mike and I got married and became a family. Kelly, don't you have any children? Tom asked in a formal tone. I answered honestly. I don't. Marrying Mike was my first marriage. It may be surprising for some people I was single until this age. Huh. Tom seemed disinterested, even though he had asked the question. I had my share of arrogance when I was younger. The confidence that I could live on my own. I dated a few people out of curiosity, but I never ended up marrying anyone. I was proud of my skills and, in terms of income, I was making more than most men. I was respected for my ability at work, and just mentioning the company I worked for made everyone envious. I thought that life would continue forever. But the downfall came suddenly. In my late 30s, I fell seriously ill and had to quit the job I was at. What a waste. It seemed like Tom genuinely felt that way. After graduating high school, he hasn't settled into a full-time job and has been earning through part-time work. He really wanted to be a full-time employee and had been to several interviews, but none of them turned out well. Eventually, he stopped going to interviews and now he just earns enough from sporadic part-time jobs to hang out lavishly with friends and spend freely. So, you don't have any savings, huh? Do you need money? I asked boldly. If it was for job hunting expenses, I thought I might help. Even though I'm a housewife now, I have some money saved from when I was working. More than anything, I was happy that Tom was relying on me. The hospital and surgery expenses took a lot, but I still have some left. Really? Tom's expression brightened. He seemed to be really struggling with money. No wonder, given the small income and his large expenditures. I can buy you a suit if you need one. That would be great. Tom's face flushed with excitement. I asked, how much do you need? Tom answered right away. $20,000. You're joking, right? I couldn't help but give a wry smile. What kind of designer suit are you planning to buy? Choose something more within your means. Don't act like my mom. Tom suddenly became sullen. I said in disbelief. I'm your mother, so of course, I worry about your future and am willing to provide financially. Or would you rather get $20,000 from a complete stranger? You're my stepmother. Yes, but still. As a stepmother, you should worry about me. He put emphasis on the word step. Tom was clearly only fond of his biological mother. It seemed his mother was abandoned by Mike due to her gambling addiction, though. Fine then. Tom turned away and left. What a troublesome kid, I murmured. But he is still young. I understand from my own experiences that youth can be reckless. That's why I hadn't said anything about his slightly wild lifestyle. But then. Welcome back, I said as Mike came home looking pale, right after Tom had left. His voice lacked its usual vitality. I wondered if he was feeling unwell. Then, suddenly, Mike exclaimed. The company's money is gone! What, really? I was stunned and looked at Mike's face. His face was ashen. And he was breathing heavily. No wonder. The money he had worked so hard to earn had vanished in an instant. No way! Do you have any idea? Mike was looking into my face. I nodded. Tom came to me asking for $20,000. What? Mike's face turned to anger in an instant. Of course, I refused. And then this mess happened right after, didn't it? Now that you mention it, he also came begging me for money. He said $16,000 at that time, but it seems he hasn't learned his lesson. $16,000. I was speechless. What was he planning to do with such a large amount of money? Mike and I went looking for Tom. We found him quickly. He was behind the hedge in the garden, clutching something. Tom, what are you doing? Nothing. Tom stood up quickly and said. He shoved what he was holding into his bag. I pointed at the bag and said, "Show me what's inside." That's an invasion of privacy. Just show us. Tom was reluctant, but he gave in under Mike's stern look. Everyone's been telling me to pay back the money I borrowed. So, you took the company's money? I was gonna pay it back soon. Tom looked more annoyed at being scolded than remorseful. It turns out, Tom had been borrowing money from friends for fun. And the amount had piled up to $20,000. Even if you're borrowing money, there should be a limit. Each person was just around $2,000 to $4,000. That's no excuse. I dismissed Tom's words outright. Do you have any idea how many months it would take you to earn $20,000? I don't know. Don't pretend you don't understand. I had my hands on my hips. Living at home without contributing to living expenses, and then borrowing money from friends to go out. What are you thinking? You're not contributing to the living expenses either, Kelly. Tom retorted, getting defensive. Mike spoke up for me. Kelly supports us with household chores, unlike you who just hangs out. You two aren't the same. See. Tom had tears in his eyes. It's always about Kelly. Dad doesn't care about Mom or me. Tom shouted and then ran off towards the house. Likely to his room. He doesn't have the courage or the financial means to run away from home. He's starting to act like his mother, Mike said with a distant look. After the incident with Tom taking the company's money, it's been decided to manage our finances more strictly. We can't afford to have him steal the company's money again, Mike said with a bitter expression. It's tough for Mike to suspect his own son. Are we also covering Tom's car inspection fees? Well, yes. He says he'll pay back once he finds a job, but with the way things are going. Mike and I were frustrated. The car Tom drives is used but a popular model. Of course, Tom couldn't afford it on his own, so Mike lent him the money. Meaning, Tom owes not just his friends but also his own father. And now, he might even be targeting the company's money. Maybe we should subtly warn him at dinner. Yeah. I'm not lending you another penny, Mike said, finally softening his expression. However, by dinner time, Tom didn't come out of his room. I can't even afford clothes. I don't have money for gas. In this situation, who can I meet? If that's how you feel, then get a job and spend your own money. I advised him, but it had no effect. In the end, I left his dinner in front of his door to see what would happen. The next day, I found the plate empty. From the beginning, I didn't expect him to wash the dishes. Relieved that he had eaten something, I took away the dishes. Breakfast was the same. I left what I made in front of his door. Suddenly, it struck me that this situation resembled something. Right. It's similar to families who prepare meals for a family member who has withdrawn from society. But Tom isn't withdrawn. I murmured to myself as if trying to convince myself. Sadly, my bad feeling turned out to be true. Tom hasn't come out of his room since then. I can't go out without new clothes and money to pay everyone back. He stuck to that one reason. I received several calls from his friends. So, he's sick, huh? Yes, that's right. I invariably lied. Telling the truth that he voluntarily shut himself in his room would completely ruin Tom's standing. At the end of the call, Tom's friend muttered, I wish he'd pay me back soon. I'm sorry. I instinctively said the word and held my head. Even though the person on the other end couldn't see me. After the call ended, I was at a loss. How could this happen? To think he would shut himself away after making such a mess with debts. How irresponsible can Tom be? Mike is too busy with work to be a confidant. Rather, it seems like he's intentionally coming home late these days. Probably because facing his son is too painful. I understand that feeling. But Tom is Mike's blood-related son. As a stepmother, my words don't reach Tom. Tom, please, come out. If you'll pay off my debts, then I'll come out. I can't do that. I was shaking my head. Not giving Tom any more money was a promise I made with Mike. However, once he realizes I won't pay, Tom stops responding again. Tom. My voice was tinged with desperation. What's it like inside his room right now? It hasn't been cleaned, and from what I can see from outside, the windows are all shut tight. It's an extremely unhealthy situation. At this rate, the lie about being sick might actually become true. Please listen. Actually, a junior from my previous company, who's moved nearby by chance, said they might hire me for a part-time job through their recommendation. Another part-time job. I'll forever be stuck in part-time jobs, never becoming a full-time employee. Tom groaned. His voice sounded frustrated. Still, the fact that he responded means he's at least listening to me. Holding on to some hope, I continued. Even if it starts with a part-time job, you could become a full-time employee based on your work. So, won't you at least go for the interview? But I don't have any clothes to wear. I've taken care of the suit, it's at the cleaners. No need to worry, I said, waiting for Tom to come out of his room. There was a long silence. Or perhaps it only felt long to me, and it wasn't actually that much time. Either way, for me, that silence was unbearable. Eventually, Tom said in a small voice. If that's the case, are you going to go to the interview? Yeah. Tom's voice lacked conviction, but I was relieved. I let out a breath of relief. Then, I'll contact them right away. I eagerly reached for my smartphone. But I was too optimistic. On the day of the interview, Tom didn't come out of his room. I don't like my hairstyle. I need to get a haircut first. Tom! I felt despair. There were people who had arranged this interview opportunity for him. I couldn't understand how Tom could betray them and act as if it was nothing. After he skipped the interview, I started keeping my distance from Tom. I prepared his meals. But that was it. I didn't talk to him or hold any expectations. Tom seems to plan on continuing to live shut away. Maybe he's expecting me or Mike to give in and pay off his debts for him. But that was out of the question. Tom's debts were excessively high, no matter how you looked at it. The demands from his friends became more blatant. Let Tom out! How long does he plan to keep borrowing money? I'm sorry, he's sick? That's a lie, right? He's just running away because he can't pay back the money. Finally, one of them became so angry that he came to our house. Surprisingly, Tom came out at that time. He had gotten his hair cut at some point. His hairstyle was neat, no different from before he shut himself away. And then, Tom said with a face that looked as if he had been through a lot. Sorry. I've been having a hard time working since I got sick. It's understandable that you're angry. His demure attitude was unexpected, considering his usual contrariness. Seeing this, his friend's anger was successfully quelled. In fact, he seemed genuinely sympathetic towards Tom. Let me know when you're better. If you need a job, I can ask around my contacts for you. Thank you. Tom smiled like a good Samaritan. I thought this promise would surely be broken too. But this time, he went to the interview without any issues and got the job. I think I can pay off my debts now. There were no more words than that. There was no apology for the time he had shut himself away. Tom acted as if nothing had happened. Mike seemed relieved that his son had stopped being reclusive. Well, now that he's got a job, that's a relief, isn't it? Yes. I wasn't fully convinced, but there was nothing I could do. After that, Tom started working at the job his friend had referred him to. This new job is comfortable. Is that so? He began eating meals at the table like normal, appearing unusually cheerful. If I work harder, maybe I can become a full-time employee. That would be good. Mike was completely reassured. I was the only one caught by a bad premonition. I couldn't pinpoint what this feeling of dread was about. By the time it was revealed, everything was too late. How about we go for a drive together? A drive? I couldn't believe Tom would suggest such a thing. It seemed suspicious to me. But before I could voice my doubts, Tom said, Do you remember the job referral you mentioned before? Yes. I skipped out on that promise. So, I thought maybe you were mad at me. I blinked. Tom seemed to want to make amends with me. It was unthinkable. But I got carried away. It's not like that at all. Really? More importantly, about the drive. Let's go together. I'm glad. Tom's face lit up. To see him showing such a bright expression, I became even more delighted, forgetting all caution. Prompted, I got into Tom's car. What about Mike? It's better with just the two of us. Just me and my son. I suddenly felt nervous. What should we talk about? I looked down, pondering. Tom drove in silence. Occasionally, I could hear him humming. He seemed to be in a good mood as usual. How far are we going? It's a secret. Tom smiled mischievously. Drawn by his smile, I found myself smiling too. We're getting on the highway. We're going quite far then. Using the highway, I wondered how far Tom was planning to go. I was puzzled, but Tom wouldn't give an answer. Eventually, the car stopped at a service area on the highway. Get out. Okay. I wondered if we were going to grab some lunch, tilting my head in curiosity. Right in front of me, Tom quickly went back into the car. Unable to understand his actions, I heard the car doors lock. What? Parasites should go back and clean. Sticking only his face out the window, Tom said that. His eyes were no longer smiling. Make your way home if you can. Wasn't this drive supposed to be about making amends? I said, confused. Deep down, I still harbored the thought that this might be some kind of joke. But Tom, with a cold voice, said, Idiot. Who would reconcile with someone like you? I've already found a job, and Dad can still work for a while. But what about you? What do you mean? I could feel my lips twitching. Bowing my head in shock. Even though you joined us as an accountant, you've been living a parasite life as a housewife since getting married. We don't need someone useless like that in our house. Parasite? I've been delivering meals to you every day while you were shut away. I screamed desperately. People gradually started gathering in the parking lot. They're just onlookers, no need to pay them any mind. I told myself, even as tears began to well up. Tom. I never expected you to cherish me. But to think you felt this way. It's shocking. Incredibly so. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. Meanwhile, Tom started the car with great enthusiasm. A sharp voice flew towards him. Calling your own parent a parasite, what kind of person does that? It came from someone I had thought was just an onlooker, from within the crowd. Tom stopped the car. Again, he stuck his face out the window. Mind your own business, outsiders. No way. We can't stand by and watch this. Voices of agreement rose. There were voices advocating for the challenges of being a housewife. Voices condemning Tom for not valuing his family. Everyone seemed to be on my side. I felt like crying for a different reason now. Tom shouted back in fury. A bunch of people who don't know the situation, making noise. As soon as he pulled his face back in, Tom drove off. Tom's car disappeared in no time. I sighed. Tom, you really don't understand anything. What a terrible person. The man who had spoken up first approached me. He's my husband's son. I said with a wry smile. Even without blood relations, we could have been a family. Yet, Tom left me behind. Where's your house? I'll take you. No, I'm all right. Don't be shy, it's okay. He insisted with a friendly smile. And I found myself nodding. Okay, let's go. Yes. I got into the back seat and the car started moving. The man was a better driver than Tom. His driving was as smooth as a taxi driver's. In the midst of this comfortable journey, I wondered why. Why are strangers so kind, yet? Is that the house right there? Yes, that's the house, I answered, feeling a pang in my heart. Tom is there. Tom will probably try to drive me away again. In that case, I should. Parasites should go back and clean. Those words suddenly came back to me. I lifted my face. Right. It's about time I taught Tom, who understands nothing, the truth. Okay. I'll make sure it's clean, I muttered as I got out of the man's car. When I got home, Mike was waiting. Unaware of the situation, Mike asked, "Where have you been?" "Just out shopping," I said. My tone was almost sing-song. "You didn't buy anything." "I'm about to buy something." I sat down at the desk and opened the computer. I showed Mike the search results. "Let's buy a new house." "What?" Mike looked stunned. But I was dead serious. "This house only holds bad memories. So, we're going to start anew." "We don't have that kind of money." "We can sell this house and use the money as a down payment." "Even so." Mike mumbled, yet he was rubbing his own waist. Mike is also middle-aged. I know he's started to suffer from back pain in the last 2 or 3 years. "Isn't going up and down the stairs getting hard for you?" "Well, can't be helped," Mike said resignedly. I smiled. "This house is a single story. It seems to have fewer steps." "That would be a relief, but..." Considering his back, it must be an appealing proposition for Mike. "What about Tom?" "He can probably live on his own by now," I said. I had no intention of taking Tom to the new house. "I heard he's got a girlfriend at work." "Really?" Mike seemed surprised, but it was true. I heard it from one of Tom's friends. That friend wished Tom would pay back his debts before getting a girlfriend, though. It's not cool for a young man with a girlfriend to still live at home. That's true. Mike nodded in agreement. That settled it. The next day, we went to see the house. As expected, it was easy to live in, and Mike seemed deeply moved. "Living here, just the two of us. Think about it, we've never had time just for the two of us, have we? Now we can spend time together, just us." "That sounds good." Mike smiled happily. Even after deciding to sell the house, we hadn't told Tom anything. "You haven't been saying unnecessary things to Dad, have you?" "What do you mean?" Tom was concerned about the incident where he left me behind. Not out of guilt. He was afraid of being ratted out to his father. Once he knew I hadn't said anything, Tom started ignoring me again, just like before. Let him do as he likes. I no longer cared. Tom would be the one panicking later. "Tom." Startled by Mike's call, Tom turned around. "What, Dad?" "You have a girlfriend, right? What's she like?" "Huh?" Tom was surprised by Mike's question. "How do you know about that?" "It doesn't matter. More importantly, what's going on with you two? Thinking about marriage?" Mike's questions were straight to the point. Tom frowned. "We're both young, we don't know about that yet." "Then it's perfect. Why don't you move out and try living with her?" "Wait a minute." Tom clearly became displeased. Being asked about his relationship status was annoying enough, let alone being told to move out. "Dad, cut it out." "Oh, it's a good opportunity. Why not check if she'll become a parasite?" I said while chopping vegetables in the kitchen. In a tone as if it was just casual conversation. "Parasite?" The word caught Mike's attention. "Who said that?" "Well, it was Tom, wasn't it?" I said nonchalantly. Tom screamed. "Wait! That story is..." "Actually, I haven't told Mike yet." At my words, Mike's voice dropped. "What are you talking about?" This was perfect. Ignoring Tom's pleading, I began to speak. "The other day, we went out for a drive together." "Kelly and Tom?" Mike looked surprised. Tom's expression was frozen. I had refrained from mentioning Tom's misdeeds until now. Revealing everything was most effective at this moment. That moment was now. At a service area, Tom left me behind. He said, "Parasites should go back and clean. If you can make it back home," he added. "Tom! What the hell?" Mike was furious. Not just his face, but his ears turned red as he glared at Tom. "You don't understand anything." "Dad!" "But..." Silence. "Listen, Kelly has been supporting us. Without her, the company would have collapsed long ago." For a moment, a look of fear crossed Mike's face. Tom looked at Mike incredulously. "What do you mean, Dad?" "Our company has debts. Kelly has been managing and applying for various procedures to keep the company afloat." "Don't lie!" "Debts, that's..." Tom was desperate. He couldn't bear the thought of me being useful to the family. Then stop the move and use that money to revive the company. The company will end with me anyway. Might as well sell it off and end it. With me here. Tom's eyes widened. Dad, I'll take over the company. I'll repay the debts. Let's keep living in this house like before. That's not possible. Mike shook his head with a genuinely regretful expression. Kelly is not just my wife, she's the company's benefactor. I can't keep you in the house after you've insulted her. Dad. Despair filled Tom's eyes. Mike looked out the window and sighed. His gaze was distant, already thinking about life in the new home. Fortunately, the debt will be paid off soon. Then the company is finished. How are we going to make a living? I'll have to work hard at a home-based job, I said matter-of-factly. In times like these, having qualifications is an advantage. Plus, I have experience and a track record from my active career. When I tentatively checked out home-based job sites, it was like everyone wanted me. I can drive, so I'm thinking of finding a job that utilizes that. I'm getting old, and I'm sick of physical labor. Don't be so pessimistic. Tom was at a loss. To him, Mike said coldly. That's why there's no place for you in this house anymore. I was thinking of letting you stay until we found a place to move, but that's not going to work. Get out of here, now. That's harsh. Tom let out a pathetic voice. I didn't know, Dad. I didn't realize Kelly was playing such an important role. Then, will you apologize to Kelly now? That's... Tom glanced at me. His face was looking like he might cry at any moment. Yet, he shook his head. Impossible. I thought so. Mike said with a knowing look. But you, thinking a housewife is a parasite, that's a terrible way to think. Housework isn't as easy as you think. Dad, you're always on Kelly's side. Tom sulked. Mike frowned. It's not about whose side I'm on. I'm worried about your way of thinking, and there's no exaggeration about housework. I'm just stating the facts. But I'm happy, I said, looking at Mike. I can't believe Mike understood housewives that much. My first wife couldn't do anything around the house. That's why Kelly's seriousness surprised me. I'm grateful, Mike said, laughing. I was also smiling. Only Tom stood frozen, tears in his eyes. What should I do from now on? Figure it out yourself, I said with a slightly stern tone. Even though it's just a formality, I'm his mother after all. I raised my voice to help him grow. For now, you should stay at her place. But be careful. One wrong step, and you'll become a real parasite. Ugh. Tom groaned. Watching him, I thought. I don't want Tom to use words like parasite anymore. That's a hurtful word. Fine. Then I'll leave now. Tom yelled and stormed out of the room. Mike and I exchanged looks. Rather than anger towards Tom, there was more of an anxious expression. As planned, we sold the house and moved to a new one. Considering our means, wouldn't an apartment be better? Mike said with a gloomy expression. In terms of future income, I'll be making more money. Mike must be concerned about that. It'll be okay, I reassured Mike. An apartment would have stairs and steps, not suitable for retirement. Plus, this property is far from the station and inconvenient, so it was cheaper. True, it's nothing but fields. Looking around, Mike said. You're already thinking about retirement, huh? Yes, I nodded. Mike said with genuine admiration. You're really smart. It's a habit from my working days. If I didn't think about the next steps, I couldn't get tasks done. I chuckled. In addition to habits from those days, I must be impatient. When I thought about it self-deprecatingly, my smartphone rang inside my bag. Who is it? It's from Tom, I said with a sigh. Since then, Tom has been on a downward spiral. First, losing his job because his father closed the business, which ruined his credibility at work. The workplace seemed to have hired him for some sort of nepotism. I got fired. And? Even after being disowned, Tom kept clinging to me and Mike. Now, with a tearful voice, he continued to lament his misfortunes. My girlfriend dumped me. I've got nowhere to live now. No one will lend me money, and I have less than $200. And? Please help me, Mom. I couldn't believe my ears. To think I would ever hear the word mom from Tom. But it was too late. You need to try and find another job, Tom. Help me. Please help me. Tom screamed. To escape his unbearable cries, I ended the call. That guy. What are we going to do now? I sighed. Tom kept calling persistently. I can't find a job. Why do you think that is? I don't know. Tom seemed to be speaking from his heart. But I knew. Tom had the aura of someone who had spent years just having fun, deceiving those around him into unhappiness while he pursued only pleasure. Who would trust and hire such a person? Mom! Stop calling me that only when you're in trouble. Strangely, every time Tom called me that, my sympathy for him faded. Now, it even irritates me. Since the day he called me a parasite, I've known Tom's true feelings. Even now, in his heart, he probably doesn't think of me even as his stepmother. The shallowness of forcibly calling me so might have been what led to my disappointment in Tom. Please help me. Then, apologize. After a silence, Tom ended the call. It seems he just can't bring himself to apologize. As long as he has that pride, I'll let Tom figure things out on his own. The contacts from Tom became sporadic. It seems like he'd run out of money to keep the smartphone going. I can't contact you anymore. After this message, there were no more calls from Tom. Mike and I started a vegetable garden in our spacious yard. Eek, bugs! Our veggies must taste great, attracting all these bugs, Mike said with a laugh. He seemed to have discovered the charm of gardening. Besides the vegetable garden, he enjoyed planting seasonal flowers. I picked those flowers and arranged them in a vase. They're beautiful. It's because you raised them with love. I felt proud. The fresh flowers bloomed in a simple white vase. It's not just the flowers though. Oh? Wondering what else there could be, I tilted my head towards Mike, who blushed and said, The profile of you, diligently arranging the flowers. Just a middle-aged woman, I said hastily. Being complimented on my looks was something I had never experienced in my life. Especially now, at my age. Kelly, thank you for marrying me. I'm sorry about my son. No. I slowly shook my head. Mike isn't to blame. Tom has his way of living, and the results of that are what he is now. I'm happy to have married you too, I replied, my face breaking into a smile. The wind flowing through the window gently swayed the flowers in the vase.